people, welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Jen, where I'm having conversations with people who are impacted by sickle cell to educate and raise awareness of the condition. Today I have Sharon with me. Sharon,
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So to start with, please just let everyone know like a bit about you. Who are you? Like, what do you do?
Okay, so my name is Sharon Browne-Peter. I am a journalist. I'm also a founder of an organization called Cells of a Generation. We're based in the UK and Nigeria. And I'm also a sickle cell
warrior person.
Warrior.
We'll get into that actually. So you're a sickle cell. What do you like to refer yourself as, a warrior?
I don't mind.
You don't mind?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Because I know that there are debating.
It is a debatable topic.
Yeah.
So I've learned.
I know. So
Yeah.
I guess I don't mind either. So you live with sickle cell. What's your journey been like? So first of all, are you like SS?
Yes, I'm SS.
You're SS. Yeah. And what's your journey with sickle cell been like?
Well, growing up, it was kind of tumultuous. Like I had so many episodes. But my mum was extra protective of me. You know, I grew up here in London. So the cold weather, she always had me in warm clothes. I was lucky enough to, swim from time to time with school. But in general, my health was just up and down. I missed a lot. I missed a lot of classes, and I was always like at the bottom, like really, I was at the bottom of class, always trying to do well with school, but I found it difficult, not just understanding what was going on in class, but I just assimilating with everyone and what was going on and in my environment. So I did feel it was kind of isolating. I don't know if you felt that as well.
Same.
Like, just that isolation of no one really understands what I'm going through. When I started maturing and growing up, and I kind of discovered myself. I moved to Nigeria, and and that was when my health was a little bit more stable because of the warm weather and just nicer people in general, until I got to a school.
Nicer people. No shade, England. No shade.
No, just in general. Well, I experienced two different types of people. I experienced ignorant people here who just did not know anything about what I was going through. Then in Nigeria, I experienced people who knew about sickle cell but saw it as a taboo. This is something that people die from. This is something that makes me constantly sick. So I experienced some sort of bullying from that. And
I want to ask which was the least hurtful. I don't know. Or not even which did you prefer, but
which was the least hurtful? Yeah. Honestly, it depends because I did eventually move schools because of bullying.
Wow.
So that particular school that I went to was terrible with bullying, and I left. So that was definitely the worst. But in London, I didn't stand out as much. I would say that. I didn't stand out as much. It was easy to just go to school, come back, and then figure myself out in a way. But yeah, when I moved to Nigeria, it was a whole different ballgame. I had a different accent, had a different way of living.
So it wasn't even just the bullying of sickle cell. It's your
life, me,
English, British, foreigner.
Exactly. Yeah. I was literally a foreigner. There was a sort of perception of what Black British girls were supposed to be, and because I was so sheltered, I didn't
even know what that was.
I did not fit that bill at all. So they were just okay, this girl's just constantly sick, whatever. Let's leave her alone. So I had zero friends in that school, and I eventually left. I moved to another school, and that's where I met my squad, and I met really cool people, and still in Nigeria. And yeah, I had a better time. I was less sick. I was actually in boarding in that school that I was bullied in. So the new school I moved to, I was a day student. and so I could go home, eat my mom's food, and perfectly fine. One thing I forgot to mention is, I was raised by a single mother, so so she's the one that looked after me and my brother. And
do you think so? You're moving. You were born in the UK.
Yeah.
Then grew up, or spent some time growing up in Nigeria, and then came back to the UK.
Yeah.
Was that all to do with your family, or was it a choice that was at all made for you, or health reasons or anything?
It was both. My mom wanted to leave the UK, and she's still in Nigeria, and she decided to take me with her because there was literally no one else to,
Of course.
to look after me. So
coming back, then she's still in Nigeria. You're here. Was that your choice?
It was, and I after university I did move back to Nigeria. Spent a few years there. Then I came back last year. So I came back.
I feel like I've been seeing you more.
I know. I know. Like I feel like I hop just like you. How you go to Jamaica and come back. Like I feel like I'm leading into that.
Yes.
Eventually, because I love both worlds. I have both passports.
Know if I have the love for both worlds. I love one more than the other, clearly.
Oh,
but
yeah.
how have you found the difference in your health? How well you feel then?
Like coming back.
Yeah. Like when you're in the UK versus being in Nigeria.
Yeah, it's different. Because I'm working now, it's a whole different dynamic. And it's not a work from home job. I have to be in the office.
What do you do?
I'm a journalist. Yeah. So
as in, but you go in. It's not like you just.
Yeah. No. So I'm in broadcast journalism.
Okay, girl.
Yeah. So
hello.
So I have to be in the office. Just and because I'm so early on in my career as a journalist, like. I have to be seen and be visible, and I have to network, and it's just so important for me to be there. And also, right now, I literally do have to be in the office because I'm a teleprompter. I'm the productionist. I'm with the production team. So
this is just great. One thing I love about this, like I have said in when I spoke about this series, Conversations with Jen, I want to speak to people that. Even though they have sickle cell, they're still doing things, following their dreams, working, and making it work. So I love that. I've had some cool people on here. Yeah, cool.
No, like if you look deep into our community, you would see so many amazing people.
Trust me.
And not just what they're doing, but also like just their minds and how they think, and it's just amazing. Like amazing
it's so
people.
True.
Yeah.
So back to the question. So I kind of went on a different I diverted.
Yes.
How is it being in the UK versus being in Nigeria in terms of?
So now that I'm in the UK, I did have a rocky start. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. I tried to do everything. I was living with my brother and my 2-year-old niece. Well, she was 1 at the time, and she just loves to play.
And you wanted to be that super cool aunt.
Exactly.
That just wants to do everything. And of course.
Gosh. So going into work, and I live far as well. So 2 hours into London. And I remember at the time I came in, there was the Northern Line had closed. So my journey was extra long every single morning. So I'd go into work, come back, play with my niece, do what I need to do to help out in the house, go to bed. Like, it was that routine. Eventually I did break down like multiple times, ended up in hospital. There was a point where I was in hospital every weekend.
Oh my god.
Darren Valley really saw me during that period, because I had to I would go in, I'd be like, I'm finding it difficult to breathe. They're like, oh no, you're fine. I'd go home, come back in again with a minor crisis. I'm like, I'm still finding it difficult to breathe. They're like, maybe just start some antibiotics, you'll be fine. Like, we can't see anything. I'll go in the 3rd time and I'm in full-blown crisis all over. And then they're like, okay, yeah, there's something going on.
It's something, we don't know what it is, but
we see fluids.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, why didn't you see anything before? But yeah, like,
was that acute chest syndrome?
Yeah, I did have acute chest syndrome a few times. Maybe because like I had to learn to bring my sanitizer with me everywhere. because the trains, everything, just...
You know, it's interesting. I always, like, London, because obviously I grew up and lived in Birmingham. So coming into London, every time I took public transport, trains, tubes and whatever, every time I got back to Birmingham, I would end up with some sort of chest infection.
Yeah.
That if I didn't get, stay on top of it, would always lead to...
Yeah. And it's not that Nigeria is any cleaner. It's just that, in Nigeria, I had a system, I was driving. I'm not going anywhere that's extremely, like, public. I'm going from home to work. I have my friends.
And that's it.
Yeah. And
no crowded
exactly
cabins and things.
Exactly. And I'm not stressing myself per se. It's a very comfortable society. So I had a system. But the only reason why I left is because I wanted a challenge. I wanted a very, very strong challenge. So when I came here, I started my job as a journalist. It was very challenging. So I was like, why did I choose to do this in the first place?
You understand, if you don't question yourself and you get too comfortable, like, what are you really doing?
Exactly. And went further into it, and but because my health was just not helping things, my doctor suggested a clinical trial.
Okay.
And I've been on that clinical trial since January, and it's actually been really helpful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to talk about it? Because I know that there are different, like, stages of the trial where you're allowed to share, not allowed to share. You might get a placebo, it might be not.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm on the placebo.
Oh, so you're not sure?
Yeah, but
have you noticed the improvement?
I've noticed a lot of improvement in my health.
Question. This is like I don't know if anyone else had this question, but I certainly do. When you do the trial, and I know that there's a chance you can have the placebo or the real thing, after the trial ends, do they tell you what you had?
Well, they're supposed to, yeah.
Okay, they're supposed to.
Yeah, they're supposed to. But at this point, neither I or the doctor.
No one will know. Until the results come through.
No one's gonna know.
But how do you feel?
I have more energy. I can walk for like an hour and be really comfortable with that, and I don't get too tired. Yeah, sometimes I do overdo it. In fact, I feel like I'm learning my body all over again.
Yes.
And it's been so interesting. Like a few weeks ago, I had event after event after event after event.
And you just kept going.
Yeah, and I thought, I'm fine. All I need to do is rest. No, I actually did end up in hospital.
Wow.
And that was the first time, the whole clinical trial. And so it's such a learning adjustment. Like, just...
Do you find that you've pushed yourself more because you found that you
Definitely.
you do an event, oh, I'm fine. You do another one, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Do you think you pushed yourself?
For sure. For sure. Like, I think I felt so caged before, and I was like, oh no, I need to, like, utilize my strength now, and yeah, so that backfired. But it's a learning curve, and I think in general everything
is.
Yeah,
I love that. Also, it's really nice to hear that you are on a trial, because I feel like we as a community, I'm talking like people living with sickle cell, push for change, push for more treatments, push for more research.
Yeah.
And, we do that. But then when sometimes those changes are offered to us, we're like, oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting, like, and really positive that you've taken this up and doing it. Was you scared at all?
I was scared I was going to be on the placebo. Obviously,
Okay,
I don't know. I don't know if I'm on the placebo or not, but because my whole mission since I started my organization was for the advancement of, research and everything to do with sickle cell. I wouldn't say this was my dream, but I was so excited.
Yeah.
To, like, the mere fact that my doctor suggested it to me, I was like, yes, like, there's nothing I would say no to regarding research. So
that's amazing. Yeah. That's really good. So talk to me about your mission, Cells of a Generation. Talk to me about how that all began, your drive, your motivation.
Yeah, so funny enough, it wasn't supposed to be an organization.
Okay.
It
never starts off like that, but it always turns into one. Trust me, it has to.
Honestly, it was actually supposed to be a documentary.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just turned into a more like formal structure. So when we started, I told my mom, I want to do this documentary. I've got a bunch of creative friends. We're gonna have an event, and we're gonna like do this and that and that and that or whatever, just to raise awareness. And my mom was like, okay, how are you gonna raise funds for it?
Number one.
How are you gonna raise funds for it? And I'm like, oh yeah, like my friend's uncle has this thing. And I'm like, no. And she's like, no. Sharon, like this is something you can do yourself. So like I'll help you open your company, or open your charity rather, and start from there. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I opened the charity in Nigeria, and honestly, the it's not as simple as here. Okay. Opening a charity in Nigeria is not as simple as here. So,
but why is it that like the places that should be simple?
Exactly.
Oh, no.
It was so difficult, and you know, the whole process kind of pushed, like it was like I can't do all of this for nothing. I have
so
to
that made
exactly.
You have to make sure. And you know, sometimes I wonder if that's the reason why they do it, because I went through the same thing in Jamaica, setting up the charity there. It's like there's so many obstacles and hoops, and you got to do this and you got to do that. It's almost like, let's deter anyone that really isn't serious.
Exactly.
I wonder.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. Like we need the charity.
I know.
So why are you like stopping us? So yeah, like I it took me forever to get the charity registered. Eventually got it done, and then I'm like, okay, let me have an event. So I had an event, and it was almost like a focus group, because there were about 30 people there, but we were all like really engulfed in conversations about how can we advance sickle cell education. And everyone came up with amazing ideas, but like the major consensus was that they wish they knew more about sickle cell in secondary school, in primary school. Like, you know, just like learning about it at a young age would have helped them
like navigate life.
Exactly. Exactly. So I was like, okay, so this could be the start of a really big mission for what I want to do with Cells of a Generation. Then I just thought, I'm going to interview people like you're doing now. I interviewed some amazing people, and I put videos on YouTube, and then I also started the comic book. So because I've always been a creative, like I love, like I used to write songs, I used to write poems, I used to write like
woman after my own heart.
I used to love like and I love hanging out with creative people in general. So when I thought about the comic, I was like, this is amazing. I know comic book artists. We can collaborate.
Just do it together.
And I did not know what I was doing. I compiled this comic.
Show us the comic.
So it's the DD project.
The DD project.
Yeah. So
I love it.
When I thought of this, it's called DD and the Bothersome Bully. Obviously based on, you know, my experience.
Your experience.
Yeah. In secondary school, and I just thought it was important for misconceptions to like kind of be understood through this comic, but I also just wasn't sure if it would fly. So like I wasn't sure if people would like the concept. So I kind of made this however I put it together, and I gave it to some other NGOs. I gave it to clinics. I got some funding, and I was like, I made a few copies, and I sent it to all these people, and I'm like, tell me what you think of this. Should I make more? What do you think should be improved? How can we push this out? All of that. And got some amazing feedback. It's just so now I've literally been like on a mission to make this a proper thing.
I love this. So the feedback was good. We want it, we love it. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
I really do think it's good, and we need more.
We do.
We need more, like, they can't just be one book. They can't just be one comic. We need like loads of different ones from loads of different perspectives.
Exactly.
Lots of different experiences, like, the bullying and, we just need more.
Exactly.
So I love that.
And I just, when people ask, oh, like, why did you name your organization Cells of a Generation? I mean, like literally in the 90s or early 2000s, we did not have any of this.
Didn't have it. Exactly.
Like, we did not have any clinical trials. We were on hydroxyurea and
folic acid.
And exactly. And so there's progress, and I want to acknowledge that progress. We're going somewhere with the advocacy you're doing and the advocacy I'm doing and so many other people. And the people that have come before us have really like soiled the ground,
Definitely.
And now it's like, okay, what does this present generation need to progress even further? And now it's like, okay, we don't just want books, we also want to be on TV. Not just TV, we want to be on Netflix.
Exactly.
We want to be on the biggest shows. We want that representation. And so I think people are confused on why representation is important.
Sometimes it gets tiring trying to explain to people that representation matters.
Exactly.
But you've been quite like, influential in a lot of, upcoming, I guess, like films and, storylines that include sickle cell. You've had some kind of impact on a few of these.
Yeah, I started out with that when I was just interested in film and media in general, and that's how I eventually got into journalism. But I wanted to learn producing, and I joined like this producing school in Nigeria, and he was, after the class, he said, "Oh, look, like I have this film that I need a consultant for. It's called Choke, and the antagonist, because he wasn't a good person, has sickle cell." And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because, we're not bunnies.
Right,
We're not sensitive. We're not supposed to be wrapped in bubble wrap. A lot of us do make bad choices. And
it's life, right?
It's life. It really is. So I just loved that perspective of, the person with sickle cell is not the goody two shoes or the vulnerable one.
I actually like that.
Yeah. So I consulted on that project and corrected them on certain things, because there's so much you can learn from Google. I think it's like, okay, so the biggest cure for sickle cell is a bone marrow transplant. So there's some people that think, this person, why haven't you had the bone marrow transplant yet? And it's like, it's not a common...
There's a cure, just take it.
Exactly, just take it, what's happening? So correcting people on those kind of things, and even down to the medications we take and what the process is from getting, having a crisis to being in the hospital, to being in admission, that process is well detailed with consultations. And so from Choke, I was asked to consult for a series here as well, Grime Kids. So
you consulted on that?
Yeah.
Yes, girl.
So I think it's really fun. It's amazing doing that, and multiple people can do this. It's needed.
I love that. Talking about what's needed, you do a lot around blood donation, the need that we have for more Black blood donors in particular, and just generally living with sickle cell and having been on blood transfusions or having being a part of that community that depends on people to help us.
That's true.
How did you get involved in that, and how's that been?
Wow. Well, yeah. It was. I did not expect to.
Didn't plan to.
Didn't plan to.
Thrown in, as you do.
So I noticed that the treatment here in the UK is different from Nigeria.
Yes.
In Nigeria, it's when my hemoglobin levels are low.
That's the only time you get a transfusion?
Yeah, that's the only time. Here in the UK, I have tried to maintain it the same way, but I have a very, very close friend who was having transfusions every 6 weeks. So she's the first person that I knew that had that. And as I went to different networking events, I found out that it's actually more common than I thought. Then I went to like a parliamentary event. It was for Black History Month. Okay. And I went with my friend Georgine. You know Georgine? I know Georgine. Yeah, and she's amazing. I was her +1, and I was telling everyone, oh yeah, I'm Georgine's +1. She's amazing. And she's like, wait, hold on. It's you. Like, Sharon, she has this. She has a comic book. I'm like, and then she's like, Sharon, introduce yourself. And I'm like, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm Sharon. I have this comic book, and I introduced the comic book to them, and they were like, oh, this would be a great project to add to what the NHS is doing to increase more Black blood donors. And so that's how the journey started, literally. And amazing. I've been advocating for it since, and the more I advocate, the more I realize how important it is, because even my own family find it difficult to donate. It's scary to them because my mum doesn't like needles. A lot of people just have this fear. Yeah, a lot of people don't like needles, and a lot of people don't even understand that your blood is so important, that it's so important to a person with sickle cell or person that is Black, or it goes to your own ethnicity. It doesn't. It's not going to a lab, and they're not gonna like grow you. Grow people. I don't know if you watched that movie, They Cloned Tyra. Yes. Like, I feel like that's the image that a lot of people have when they think of like blood donation. Yeah. And that's not the case at all. Like your blood is so important. It goes to saving lives. It goes to saving patients with sickle cell who literally need this to go about their daily lives. Yeah. So true. It's so true. Just to you saying that, the more you've been involved, the more you realise how important it is. I feel like I've been on a similar sort of journey. Like I've, in the UK, it's something that's really common. They try and have it as a form of treatment then. So either you're on hydroxy or you're on transfusions, and it's just every 4 weeks till thy kingdom come. I don't know, like just non-stop. Yeah. I have never been... I just don't like ongoing treatments. I like there to be an end date. But even with that, blood exchanges have saved my life so many times, and needing the top up whenever I can, it's so important. But knowing that it allows people from our community, people that live with sickle cell, to just live a normal life, as normal life as possible. Exactly. It's just like, I have to do this. Like, I feel like I have to. Exactly. And it's almost a little bit like... For a person with sickle cell, I've noticed in the community that there's a bit of like a blame thing, like, oh, you should drink more water, or you should take your medications more. But I'm like, that is sometimes just not enough. Sickle cell does its own thing sometimes, and it does its own thing to everyone differently as well. Yeah. So what works for you doesn't work for me. Exactly. Like, I've only had an exchange once, but someone else has had multiple exchanges, and it's like sickle cell is really debilitating to them, and I can't just be like, oh, because I've lived a very healthy life, like, you should be able to as well. It's different for everyone. And so when I felt like, when I saw like I could actually do something about it, and like, I'm sure you felt the same way, just like telling our friends, like, go and go and donate. It's not even telling, dragging them there, forcing that, like, it's Like,
it's tough.
giving like a whole PowerPoint presentation on
I know.
on like 10 reasons why you should donate.
And afterwards still having to explain why you should donate. These are the things that we do. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's for a good cause. What would you say to, like, I guess, what would you say to people who do donate blood, either to the people who do, or to encourage people to donate? Yeah, what would you say? Yeah.
Well, honestly, your blood matters so much. I have an auntie. She's Caribbean, and she's donated 12 times, and she's so passionate about this.
Wow.
She's so passionate. She's like, it literally takes an hour tops. You just go in, like they take your blood and you leave and you've saved 3 lives. And you don't even need to do too much.
Exactly.
You don't need to do too much, and it goes to so many people that need it. And it's not just people with sickle cell, even though like right now the urgency is for sickle cell. It's not just for sickle cell, it's also for mothers who need it, or people who are in accidents.
Exactly.
Like, just so much that your blood can do and save people, really.
Blood.co.uk.
Yeah.
If you're watching in the UK. What one piece of advice then would you give to someone who is living with sickle cell and just trying to, you know, find their way, navigate this thing we call life?
Well, I have so many things to say, honestly.
Pick the best.
I would just say, don't lose your spark. So, you know, sometimes sickle cell can be really consuming. You know, like, everything about your life can be dictated by this health condition. You know, you can't go out at this time. You can't wear, some people can't wear socks. Some people, like, you know, have to date a certain way or whatever. But despite all of that, just find, like, what gives you joy. Because this life is so short, and you don't want to spend your whole, like, existence just thinking about, like beyond your health, like, what is there to you? Yeah. What is there to your life? What is there to your existence? And, like, search for that and keep at it, really. Like, that's the important thing.
I love that. I feel like you're talking to me. Before we wrap up, I want to talk to you for so much longer. Do you have any questions for me or anything that you want to ask me?
Well, I would say you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
And I love that you've really taken it upon yourself, because it's not easy. I feel like,
Girl, I know.
yeah, like, I would have actually loved to ask you, like, how do you deal with, like, burnout? I know that going to Jamaica is a huge part of it.
Oh yeah, I got out of burnout culture. I feel like burnout, especially, you know, in the UK, growing up in the UK, I just feel like there was a point where it became a trend. And I also feel like that's probably my own doing, because it was like along my journey to getting to where I am today. So, like, having mentors, having friends who are all, like, you know, business owners, run their own business, entrepreneurs and stuff, you get like this toolkit of how to become successful. And you've got to do this, and you must do this, and have you done this, and have you done that? And realizing that all of these people that are doing these things, and they're successful entrepreneurs, or they're running their own business, from everyone that was around me or in, you know, part of my mentoring community and whatever, there was one thing that was different about me, and that was that I was living with sickle cell. Like, I had a health condition which caused me chronic pain. I was in hospital sometimes. So, you know, setting goals that, you know, the deadline's coming up, but I'm in hospital, missing meetings, and, like, you know, it's to people who don't have to think about what we do. They don't get it.
Exactly.
They don't understand that.
They don't.
Okay, I might set a goal and I plan to do this, but unfortunately it was impossible for me to do. Not making excuses, you know. And so you're around that culture, and then burnout just happens because you want to keep up, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, I'm now at a place where I just do things at my own pace. I'm, as much as I can take advice from people, and someone can say, oh, I did that in a week, or I did that in that time, I just have to be really kind to myself and very realistic with what I'm doing. And if I set myself a deadline and I miss the deadline, I can hold myself accountable, and I think that's what's important. Like, if you can hold yourself accountable to knowing if you're just making an excuse, like you could have done it but you didn't. You could have done it but you couldn't be bothered.
Exactly, yeah.
You're the only person that knows deep down that I could have done that, but I wasn't able to physically. You can't beat yourself up about it. You just got to be kind and just take things in your stride. Like, I'm going to get there, you know, and I'm supposed to get there at the time that I do, not before. That's just it. That's just how I feel.
Like, if you need a break, just
take it. Lean into the days where you are tired, you cannot do. Like, before, I used to get annoyed with myself for being sick, for missing events, for not being able to participate. And now I'm just like, well, you know what? This is how I'm feeling. Can't go. Okay.
Yeah.
The world's not going to end.
Exactly. There will be more events.
There'll be more. I used to say, like, the world will not end if I do not attend. And it just made me feel so good. Like, okay, get the Netflix on, get the heat pad, get the water, relax. And just, I almost enjoy those days now. Whereas before, I hated them. I think I really was hard on myself when I did get to the burnout stage or did end up in hospital. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I'm not well. My body's talking to me. I'm going to listen. And that is just it.
Exactly.
And that has actually helped me to go further than I would have, because
definitely
taking the time, it's like, if I take some time now, it will prevent a whole week of in hospital, out hospital, recovering from the painkillers, recovering from not doing anything, getting back on track.
Exactly.
It takes so much time than just taking that moment, that one day to do something. So much better.
So much better, yeah. Like, I think I learned that from my mum a little bit. Because
mums are the greatest. Mums teach us a lot. I feel like when you're young, you don't realise, but you get to adulthood and you're like, girl, you were sent to me for a reason.
You knew before I knew.
Yes, you knew before I knew I needed to know. No, but they know.
Exactly.
They teach us well. This has been beautiful. I could talk to you all day long.
No, this was a great conversation.
It really was.
Thank you for having me again.
Thanks for joining me. And we'll see you soon.